Chapter 36-26. The three women were so frightened that they took a step back. Their eyes were filled with reverence for Qiao Yulu. They lowered their heads and grabbed each other's hands, preparing to leave. Before they could even lift their feet, the three women were blocked by a slender figure. Yi Qing Luo stood in front of the trio, separating them from Qiao Yulu. Yi Qing Luo met Qiao Yulu's eyes with a smile which didn't look like a smile, as her smile was filled with ridicule. It's rare for mysterious maiden to come to the gathering of treasures, not to create trouble, but to do business. Cut the crap. Take out the beautifying cream, no matter how many crystal stones you want, I will give it to you. Qiao Yulu was rather infuriated by Yi Qing Luo's glare. How could she not tell that Yi Qing Luo was ridiculing her? However, he thought of the beautifying cream. In the end, Qiao Yulu swallowed her anger. Yi Qing Luo smiled sweetly. I know mysterious fairy is rich and overbearing, not worried about crystal stones. What do you want? Hearing the meaning behind Yi Qing Luo's words, Qiao Yulu frowned as she asked in displeasure. Yi Qing Luo's eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. The beauty ointment is the auction item that we are going to present to the auction. Qiao Yulu's expression froze. What do you mean? Yi Qing Luo smiled innocently. It's exactly the literal meaning. Don't tell me mysterious maiden doesn't understand. Qiao Yulu's eyes were gloomy, and a wisp of killing intent flashed between her brows. His fingers under his sleeves were clenched into fists. In the face of this invisible pressure, Yi Qing Luo expressed that she didn't feel anything. Mysterious fairy need not be anxious, the day after tomorrow is the auction. You! Qiao Yulu was furious. Her body trembled uncontrollably. This consort wants the beautifying cream right now. Give me the beautifying ointment, and I'll give you a higher price than the one at the auction. Yi Qing Luo raised her finger as she shook it. Mysterious maiden has personally used the beauty cream's effect, so she should be very clear about it. Adding on to the fact that there's the blood mercenary group side who have personally experimented and promoted it, what do you think? If I were to put it up for auction, how high a price would my beauty cream fetch? Qiao Yulu's face darkened. When the three women behind him heard this, their hearts couldn't help but jump. Princess Yulu personally used the beautifying cream. And he still wanted to buy all the beautifying cream. And he didn't hesitate to spend a lot of crystal stones. Didn't this mean that the beautifying cream was really useful? Otherwise, why would Palace Master Yulu, who had a grudge with Treasure Gathering Palace, personally come to purchase the beauty cream? Hearing that Yi Qing Luo was going to put up the beautifying cream at the auction, the thoughts of the three women became active again. If it was now. They certainly did not dare to fight with Qiao Yulu for the beauty cream. However, when it came to the auction, that was the auction. If you are worried about offending someone, you can also choose to bid anonymously. Yi Qing Luo saw that the effect had been achieved and smiled at Qiao Yulu. Don't stare at me, this is after all a collaboration between me and Treasure Gathering. We've already reported it to the auction house, so there's no way to sell it to you privately. Qiao Yulu was just about to say that she would sell a bottle to her first, but upon hearing Yi Qing Luo's words, these words were stuck in her throat. She gritted her teeth. How many bottles did Treasure Gathering report? It's very difficult to refine the beautifying ointment. These are my treasures that I've been keeping for a long time. Yi Qing Luo said smilingly, I only have 10 bottles. 10 bottles. Qiao Yulu subconsciously touched her own face. As though she was considering whether 10 bottles of beautifying cream was able to restore her face completely. Chapter 36-27. How could Qiao Yulu not tell that Yi Qing Luo was intentionally ridiculing her? If she really wanted the beauty balm, she would have to go to the hospital. Which meant she had to use a high price to bid for the beauty cream at the auction. That meant that she would use her crystal stones to help the treasure house to get the honor of the best trading house. That meant that she would make herself lose the bet with Yiqing Luo. Qiao Yulu's face turned pale instantly. She clenched her fists tightly as she stared at Yiqing Luo with hatred. You did it on purpose. Qiao Yulu finally understood at this moment. Ever since she confirmed the efficacy of the beauty cream, she had been wondering why Di Luo would give it to her so easily. Not to mention, on account of Qiao Yinyan. If Di Luo really wasn't willing. Even if Qiao Yinyan knelt on the ground, Di Luo wouldn't be moved. However, Di Luo had easily taken out the skin beautifying ointment that day at the Qiao mansion. From that time onwards, Di Luo had planned everything. Di Luo had guessed correctly that she would take any risk for her face. So, she intentionally gave the beauty cream to her. After she tasted the sweetness, she made use of her to bid for the beauty cream at the auction. Because, looking at the entire without embroiling city, the person who needed the beauty cream the most was only her. And she had to have it. Di Luo wanted her to slap her own mouth, using her crystal stones to make her lose the bet between them. What a vicious scheme. Qiao Yulu's eyes turned red from the glare. Her venomous gaze was like a sharp thorn, piercing into Yiqing Luo's heart. Facing such a gaze, Yiqing Luo's expression was calm, without any change in her emotions. Instead, she met Qiao Yulu's gaze. Her pink lips curled upwards as she smiled sweetly. Oh? Since you said I did it on purpose, then. When the auction is over, wouldn't it be better if Mysterious Maiden doesn't bid? Qiao Yulu was flustered. While she and Yiqing Luo had such a huge conflict, she even lowered herself to personally come to the treasure house to buy the beauty cream from Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo actually dared to rub her nose in. The angrier she got, the more anxious she became. The smile on Yiqing Luo's face became even more radiant, seeing Mysterious Maiden's determined look towards the facial beauty ointment. Looks like the effect of the facial beauty ointment is really not bad at all. I hope that by then, the value of the facial beauty ointment will be able to go up another level in the auction. Qiao Yulu raised her finger and pointed at Yiqing Luo with a trembling finger. Her chest heaved up and down, vibrating with force. She stared at Yiqing Luo for some time before she pointed towards Yiqing Luo's direction and pointed hard in the air. Good. Well done. Di Luo, this empress would like to see if you can deliver the beauty bomb to the auction master in one piece during the auction the day after tomorrow. Qiao Yulu spat out each word through gritted teeth. It was a powerful and majestic pressure. It kept on eroding Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as her long and narrow eyes rose upwards, staring at Qiao Yulu with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Qiao Yulu was about to leave. But she heard Yiqing Luo giggling. Ioyo, I'm so scared. Saying that, Yiqing Luo walked towards Qiao Yinyan's direction. Eldest young master Qiao, is Mysterious Maiden considered to be threatening me? If something happens to me before the bet between us ends, can it be blamed on her? Chapter 36-28. TSK, by then. There will be a lot of people paying attention to Mysterious Fairy. Yiqing Luo's eyebrows curved into a smile, looking extremely lively and alluring. Using another method to become famous is not a bad idea. Qiao Yinyan's expression sunk slightly, his brows wrinkled tightly. His gaze was deep as he stared at Qiao Yulu, as without embroiling city's Mysterious Fairy, your every word and action represents without embroiling city. Since you want to make this bet with Ao Luo, then under the condition that Ao Luo doesn't violate the rules, you cannot use your own safety to threaten Ao Luo. Otherwise, no matter what happens to Ao Luo, as Mysterious Fairy, you have to bear the responsibility. Qiao Yulu's eyes were bloodshot. She snorted loudly and flung her sleeves down heavily. Turning around, she led the guards of the large sect and left the treasure-gathering hole. After the 10 over of them left the narrow hole. Fresh air finally returned to the lobby of the treasures gathering hall. Miss D. Behind her, a lady's careful call was heard. Yiqing Luo then remembered that there were 3 other ladies hiding behind her. She immediately moved away and turned around to look behind her. She saw one of the ladies staring at her without blinking. Miss D. You said you will put the beauty ointment in the auction, is that true? Yiqing Luo nodded, of course it's true. But you saw Mysterious Fairy's attitude earlier. If she's not willing to give you the beauty ointment, I'm afraid you won't be able to bid for it. As the eldest daughter of the Qiao family, the #1 aristocratic family in the Earth realm. So the mysterious fairy who came out from Linglong Palace. Qiao Yulu had no lack of crystal stones. To Qiao Yulu, as long as the problem could be solved with crystal stones, then it wasn't a problem. So as long as Qiao Yulu really wanted the beauty ointment, it was enough to exchange for 10 bottles of beauty ointment. The ladies looked at each other in dismay, their expressions were a little ugly. Yiqing Luo looked at them with a smile. Thank you for your support for the beauty ointment. I heard that you have a bunch of sisters waiting for the news of the beauty ointment, right? Yes. The young mistresses nodded. Yiqing Luo pondered deeply for a moment and said, how about this, after the auction ends, I'll strive to refine a few more bottles of beauty ointment and by then we'll auction it off at the treasure gathering hall. All of you can come and take part. The eyes of the ladies lit up. Really? Yiqing Luo nodded with a smile. After discussing a few more sentences about the beautifying cream with the ladies, Yiqing Luo sent them off. The treasures exchange hall fell into a rare moment of silence. Qiao Yinyan poured a cup of warm tea and passed it to Yiqing Luo, telling Princess Yu Lu about the hidden card of the treasure gathering so early. Aren't you worried that she will come up with some countermeasures to counter the beauty cream? On the contrary, I'm afraid that she won't target me. Yiqing Luo smiled evilly. Qiao Yinyan raised an eyebrow. Does that mean you already had a plan? Yiqing Luo touched her chin. Although towards Mysterious Maiden, I don't understand her as well as you, but I'm very clear that she's not someone who can swallow her grievances. She had suffered quite a lot of grievances and suffered quite a lot from me, so how would she possibly let me take part in the auction smoothly? Don't tell me, she will really make a move on you before the auction. Qiao Yinyan's expression congealed. Chapter 36-29. What will she do? Qiao Yinyan asked in puzzlement. Why did it feel like Di Luo knew his sister better than him? Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows and smiled meaningfully. No matter what she will do, I am sure she will use a very stupid way to deal with the treasure exchange. Qiao Yinyan. Actually, it was not that Qiao Yulu was stupid, but Di Luo was too smart. But looking at Yiqing Luo's calm and composed look, she obviously had a plan in her heart. He didn't need to worry about her. As expected. Everything was as Yiqing Luo had predicted. Qiao Yulu made her move. The beauty cream, under the publicity of the blood mercenary group, had been treated as a peerless treasure by countless young ladies. Furthermore, during the day at the treasures gathering exchange, the 3 young ladies had exaggerated the matters of the treasures gathering exchange to the group of young ladies. As a result, the group of young ladies yearned for the skin beautifying cream even more. If the beauty cream was really put up for auction, the price would absolutely be heaven-defying. It could be said that the treasure exchange hall could really use the beauty cream to fight a beautiful turnaround. So, Qiao Yulu wanted the beauty cream but wasn't willing to lose the bet with Yiqing Luo. Then she could only let Yiqing Luo's beauty cream lose its luster before the auction. Hence, it took almost half a day's time. Which was the afternoon after Qiao Yulu left the treasure exchange hall. The entire without embroiling city started to spread a rumor. The treasure-gathering trading company used the reputation of the bloody mercenary group to purposely promote the so-called beauty ointment. They wanted to exaggerate the effects of the beauty ointment before the auction to trick the citizens into bidding for the beauty ointment at a high price. This rumor didn't fly for long. Another rumor continued to spread. What? You want to ask why the Treasure Exchange Hall did this? And even borrowed the reputation of the Blood Mercenary Group to promote the beauty cream. Weren't they afraid that the Blood Mercenary Group would blame them and directly destroy their Treasure Exchange Hall? No, no, no. How could the Treasure Exchange Hall be afraid? The Treasure Exchange Hall did this entirely to obtain the honor of the best auction hall in the auction. Because the lady named Di Luo who took out the beauty cream had a bet with Without Embroiling City's mysterious maiden. She didn't want to lose, so she resorted to all means. Oh. You want to ask, what evidence is there to prove that the Treasures Exchange Hall is lying to the citizens? Because 5 years ago, the Treasures Exchange Hall had used the same method. You don't believe me? Ask any elderly citizen in Without Embroiling City, and they would all know what sort of infuriating incident had happened in the Treasure Exchange Hall that had been all the rage for a while 5 years ago. The more the rumors spread, the more exaggerated they became and the harder it was to listen to them. In the end, it turned into a treasure-gathering transaction. They wanted to use the old tricks from 5 years ago to deceive the citizens and ignore the strict fairness of the auction. When these rumors and slanders reached Pei Xing's ears, Pei Xing was stunned. It all happened that night. At that time, Pei Xing was going to the river to fetch water. She was stopped by a few women and asked about the beauty cream. Only then did she hear the news. Especially when it involved what happened 5 years ago. Pei Xing's expression changed immediately. He threw down the pole that was used to fetch water and rushed back to the Treasure Exchange Hall. This action. It was also spread by some people. As a result, Pei Xing flew into a rage out of humiliation and tacitly admitted the truth of the rumor. Chapter 36:30. Pei Xing returned to treasure gathering. Yiqing Luo was by the counter, setting up some small items. Seeing that Pei Xing had returned, she looked up and glanced at him. Didn't you go to fetch water for Zixi to wipe her body? Why did he come back empty-handed? Why do you look so pale? Have you heard the rumors that the citizens outside are discussing? Pei Xing thought about how the citizens around him, who had been smiling at him in a friendly manner, were now pointing at him with looks of disgust and disgust. Anger surged in his heart. I heard. Yiqing Luo's expression was indifferent. Do you mind? Of course I care. Pei Xing clenched his fists. 5 years ago, it was clearly the Zhongqing trading house that framed Gathering Bao and the trading house. Gathering Bao has never lied to anyone. It's useless for you to say these words to me. Yiqing Luo put down the item in her hands as she looked at him calmly. Of course, even if you run out to explain to anyone, it's useless. Pei Xing's anxiety and Yiqing Luo's calmness formed a sharp contrast. Facing Yiqing Luo's calm and indifferent attitude, Pei Xing's clenched fists loosened, but he couldn't help but clench them again. He repeated this a few times. His entire person seemed to lose all strength, and he slumped down in dejection. Ah, Luo! Treasure conglomeration has finally taken a turn for the better with great difficulty. The day after tomorrow is the grand auction, but now there's such a rumor. It was not just Treasure Gathering's reputation that was tarnished. Most importantly, All Luo will lose the bet. If he really handed All Luo over to Princess Yu Lu and let her do whatever she wanted with him, Princess Yu Lu would never let All Luo leave alive. I'm sorry. All Luo, it's all because of me, it's all because of my incompetence. Pei Xing sat down on the chair weakly, covering his face with his hands. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips as she looked at Pei Xing quietly for some time before she spoke out calmly. This isn't your fault, the person Xiao Yulu is targeting is me. She paused and walked out from behind the counter. However, you're right about one thing. Ah Xing, you are indeed incompetent. Her straightforwardness caused Pei Xing's body to stiffen. Yi Qing Luo continued, if you really want to protect the treasure's exchange hall, if you really want to protect Zishi, then you should straighten your back, and not be at a loss of what to do the minute something happens, blaming yourself in various ways, then not doing anything at all, just immersing yourself in your decadent emotions. Pei Xing's hand slowly slid down from his face. His handsome face was filled with pain. His eyes were also a little red. Yi Qing Luo walked to his side, her gaze was still as calm as usual. Xing, you must remember that you are a man with an indomitable spirit. You must use your own two hands to create unlimited possibilities. So what if Qiao Yulu spreads rumors? So what if they damage the reputation of the treasure's trading house? Don't tell me that if you continue to wallow in self-pity, the problem will be solved. Yi Qing Luo's successive explosive strikes made Pei Xing's entire person stunned till he turned stiff. He looked at Yi Qing Luo in a daze. Following Yi Qing Luo's words, his reddened eyes started to change. His stiff body slowly moved. A pair of pure black bright eyes seemed to be filled with starlight. He clenched his fists as he stood up abruptly. Ah, Luo, I'm sorry. I know. Looking at the man straightened his back, his tall figure appeared extremely skinny. Yi Qing Luo sighed softly. The reason why Pei Xing's character was weak. It was also because of the environment. Chapter 36-31. He had grown up in the trading house since young. He personally witnessed the changes in the trading house. He personally witnessed his own kin drowning themselves in the river. And after taking over the trading house, he became the target of exclusion by the entire city. This had a huge impact on Pei Xing. What Yi Qing Luo needed to do was to change him from the bottom of his heart. From the fact that Pei Xing wasn't affected by the spirit devourer formation. Pei Xing must have some secret on him. If Pei Xing could dig it out, this would be a good step forward for his future. What should I do? Pei Xing regained his spirits as he looked at Yi Qing Luo. After the auction is over, I will have to leave without embroiling city. Ah, Xing, I can't help you with everything. Yi Qing Luo patted his shoulder. Pei Xing was stunned. He wanted to ask Yi Qing Luo to stay. But he was very clear in his heart. Yi Qing Luo absolutely could not stay in without embroiling city. She still had to look for her fiancé. Pei Xing took a deep breath and calmed his thoughts. There's still one more day before the auction. We have to change everyone's opinion of treasure gathering by tomorrow. Especially, we have to make the citizens believe in the effects of the beauty ointment again. Yi Qing Luo nodded. What do you intend to do? Seeing that Yi Qing Luo had acknowledged what he said, Pei Xing's apprehensive heart relaxed. Do you have any extra beauty cream? There's still one bottle. That was refined previously to be used for publicity. Pei Xing said, tomorrow, I will use the topic of treasure gathering hall to explain the rumors and invite the citizens to the treasure gathering hall. Later I'll go find out that the ugly lady in without embroiling city will come over to test the effect of the beauty cream in public. This was equivalent to holding a press conference in the modern society. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled slightly, apparently very satisfied with Pei Xing's suggestion. Seeing Yi Qing Luo smile, Pei Xing's tense body then relaxed as he asked apprehensively, Ah Luo, is it all right if I do this? His cautious look was like a student who was nervous and perturbed in front of the headmaster. Yi Qing Luo nodded with a face full of smiles. No problem, let's do this. Pei Xing's tensed face also relaxed. He thought of a way to deal with it. Pei Xing went to handle this matter. Yi Qing Luo had no intention to interfere in this matter. After Pei Xing left, sitting by the side, the sloppy old Lai then looked at Yi Qing Luo. You had long guessed that Qiao Yulu would use this method to target you. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. You can say so. After all, this was the best solution. As long as it involved the incident from 5 years ago, not only would it make the citizens lose their yearning for the beauty cream, but it would also smear Zhu Bao's name and make it unable to raise its head. Chapter 36-32. Shadowless City, isn't like without embroiling city. Old Lai retracted his gaze and leaned back in his chair. If you go to Shadowless City without me, you might not even be able to enter the city gates. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Shadowless City is so cruel. Old Lai nodded seriously. You'll know when you get there, I'm absolutely not exaggerating. Yiqing Luo glanced at the serious Old Lai and rolled her eyes. Just say it if you want to follow me to Shadowless City. Alright, I want to follow you to Shadowless City. Old Lai continued to put on a serious face. Yiqing Luo. So direct. Then let's go together. In this unfamiliar place, with a madman from the Hell Palace by her side, at least she wouldn't provoke any retards who came to make their presence known. She only wanted to go to Shadowless City to see Dmo Xian. To confirm his physical condition. She really couldn't be bothered with other retards who came to find trouble. Most importantly, since the leader of the bloody mercenaries mentioned that she had never seen her in the Earth Realm, Yiqing Luo felt that she had to create an identity in the Earth Realm. Otherwise, if someone found out that she wasn't from the Earth Realm, she didn't have the qualification to ascend to the Earth Realm to prove that she was a cultivator from the lower realm. It would be easy for others to suspect her background. The next morning, the news of the press conference held by the Treasure Exchange Hall. Oh no, the Treasure Exchange Hall hosting the citizens of Without Embroiling City to explain the beauty ointment matter spread throughout the streets and alleys of Without Embroiling City. This popularity. Compared to the publicity of the beauty ointment by the bloody mercenaries, the popularity created was several times more. Previously, only a bunch of ladies knew about the beauty ointment. But now, after Qiao Yulu's actions, basically, as long as one was in Without Embroiling City, they all knew about the beauty ointment and the Treasure Exchange Hall. The next day, everyone's topic was beauty ointment, Treasure Exchange Hall, etc. Listening to the streets and alleys, from 80 old people to 5-year-old children were discussing these topics. Even those who came to Without Embroiling City to participate in the auction were attracted by this topic. Qiao Yulu stood in the crowd. Her face under the black veil was very ugly. She suddenly felt that she had just shot herself in the foot. Why did it seem like it was helping treasure gathering and facial beautifying ointment set off a wave of popularity? Is the beautifying cream really that magical? With just a touch, your skin will become smooth and supple, without pimples or spots. I don't think that's possible. Didn't you say that Zhu Bao wanted to use the strategy from 5 years ago to deliberately make the skin beautifying cream look so magical to trick us into bidding at a high price? How can there be such a magical thing in this world? This is definitely just a publicity stunt. Treasure Gathering wants to give an explanation for the skin beautifying ointment. Why are we guessing here? Why don't we go and take a look? Let's go and see how Treasure Gathering Guild is going to explain itself. The citizens swarmed towards the direction of the Treasure Exchange Hall. Among the crowd, Qiao Yulu's face was dark. Her eyes were vicious like a venomous snake. Go. Let's go over and take a look. This Empress wants to see how Treasure Gathering can resolve the matter regarding the beautifying ointment. She spat out these words through gritted teeth, her tone extremely cold. At the entrance of the Treasure's trading house. At this moment, the 3 inner and 3 outer layers were filled with people. Chapter 36-33. At the main entrance of the Treasure Exchange Hall, Yiqing Luo specially used bamboo poles to form a square with the Treasure Exchange Hall's entrance as the distance. Within the boundary of the bamboo poles, there was a table and 2 chairs. The citizens stood outside the boundary of the bamboo poles and were not allowed to get close to it. Of course, when this bunch of citizens went crazy, they totally wouldn't care about the bamboo poles or not. So Yiqing Luo specially placed a chair at the corner of the bamboo poles. Lao Lai just sat there like a thorn in his flesh, with old Lai watching. The citizens were obviously more well-behaved. Originally they were still talking about yesterday's rumors, but they were all stuck in their throats. They were afraid that if they angered the Hell Palace's senior, they would be dealt with. The appointed time came. The treasure exchange's door opened. Pei Xing walked out from the treasure exchange. Following closely behind was Yi Qing Luo and Qiao Yinyan. The three of them walked to the table and stood still. Pei Xing started to speak. The rough content was that yesterday the blood mercenary group used the beauty cream and felt that it was useful, so they praised it. But when some people heard it, they were afraid that it would affect their own benefits, so they intentionally spread rumors, trying to ruin the beauty cream and treasure exchange's reputation. Of course, Pei Xing's words were very tactful. And he didn't clearly mention who the people with intentions was referring to. But the surrounding citizens, from his words, were able to clearly match that people with intentions with Qiao Yulu. Without embroiling city's mysterious maiden. Of course, everyone was well aware of it. But the other party was after all without embroiling city's mysterious maiden, so no one dared to say her name. At this time, there would naturally be different voices. For example, there's no smoke without fire, why are you saying it's a rumor? Don't tell me the beauty cream really has such a shocking effect. For example, don't say anything about ruining the treasure exchange's reputation. Ever since 5 years ago when the treasure exchange cheated its customers, it no longer has any so-called reputation. And so on, and so on. After Pei Xing was awakened by Yi Qing Luo last night. Now that he heard these words, his heart more or less calmed down. It wasn't like yesterday, surging with anger, feeling aggrieved and unresigned. Pei Xing was very calm. He waited for everyone to stop asking questions before he said, no matter what I say, it won't be as real as what everyone saw with their own eyes. He paused and his gaze swept across the citizens. I invited all of you here today to settle the matter regarding the beautifying cream and to give everyone an explanation. Therefore, Jubao specially took out a bottle of beautifying cream to test the effects of the beautifying cream in public. Try it for free. His last 4 words were enunciated very clearly. The crowd was instantly in an uproar. When Pei Xing received an exquisite wooden box from Yi Qing Luo's hands, everyone quietened down as they stared at Pei Xing's hands. Pei Xing placed the wooden box on the table and slowly opened the lid. Every single one of his movements was deliberately slow, filled with a mysterious aura. When the transparent jade-like medicine bottle was carefully taken out, everyone saw the pink ointment, which seemed to be plated with fluorescent light. The crowd was in an uproar again. This is the beautifying ointment. Pei Xing held the beautifying ointment in his hand, and his voice became solemn. Gathering Treasures has already submitted the beautifying ointment to the auction, and the base price is 500,000 crystal stones. After the base price was announced, the citizens' expressions were filled with astonishment and disbelief. A bottle of ointment cost 500,000 crystal stones. This young lady is the daughter of old Tofu Lu from the neighboring street. Due to an accident when she was young, her face was burned. Yi Qing Luo introduced, I believe the neighbors on the neighboring street should be very familiar with this young lady. It wasn't just the neighbors who knew each other. Many citizens of Without Embroiling City knew that old Lu's Tofu family's daughter had her face burned. Due to the disfigurement of his face, he was already 19 years old this year and had yet to be betrothed. She was an old lady who basically couldn't get married. He was sure that this woman was not lying. Pei Xing opened the bottle cap of the beautifying ointment and said to the woman, "Open your palm." The woman obeyed and opened her hands. Pei Xing carefully poured out a small ball of pink ointment and smeared it on the woman's palm. Now, apply this ointment to your face. The woman looked at the ointment in her hand. It smelled very fresh and not pungent. She slowly smeared the ointment on her palm on her face. It was just a small ball. Chapter 36-35. When the lady stopped moving, leaned against the chair and closed her eyes. Yiqing Luo asked with a smile, "How do you feel now?" The lady remained silent for a moment, very cold, and a little itchy. "Can you resist not scratching?" Yiqing Luo continued to ask. "Yes." The lady took a deep breath, her nails clenched into a ball. "As long as my face is like a normal person, I can bear it." "It's alright, hold on until your face is itchy, or when you can't stand the cold, you can tell me." Yiqing Luo comforted her gently. The lady replied with an "N." Everyone's attention was focused on the lady's face. The lady sat stiffly on the chair, eyes closed, her body tensed up. After applying the beauty cream, there was no change at all. About the time it took to burn a stick of incense had passed. The citizen's patience was exhausted. Especially the lady's burnt and pitted face, there was no change at all. Suddenly, they felt that they had been played. As time went by, the dissatisfied discussions among the citizens grew louder. Some even said that the treasure gathering was lying. If it wasn't for old Lai, that big Buddha, sitting there sloppily. Some of the ill-tempered citizens would have directly overturned the tables and chairs. However, no matter how the surrounding citizens discussed and ridiculed, Yiqing Luo and the rest were all calm, their gazes fixed on the lady's face. Yiqing Luo would occasionally ask the lady how she felt. Just as some citizens' legs were aching from standing and didn't want to waste any more time, among the crowd, a voice suddenly rang, "Lu Tofu's daughter, her body keeps trembling. Is she going to kill someone?" This was like a stone that stirred up 1,000 ripples. The impatient mood of the citizens was immediately affected by the gossiping. "What? Human life? Right, look. That lady's body keeps trembling, it's obviously not normal. Gathering treasures, hurry up and wipe off the stuff on her face. You're asking for her life. Sure enough, we can't have any hopes for the treasure gathering. Everything is fake. They only know how to lie to their customers. And now they're trying to kill someone. Go report to the authorities. We must not let these unscrupulous businessmen taint our without embroiling city." After one person took the lead, all the rhythm was brought over by those words. For a moment, more than half of the thousands of people surrounding them were clamoring to report the incident to the authorities. No matter how much Pei Xing's mentality had changed, he still couldn't help it. Faced with such a situation, he was more or less panicking. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways at Pei Xing, indicating him not to worry. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he glanced in the direction of the rhythm of talking about human lives. Coincidentally, he saw Qiao Yulu, who was wearing a white veil and a black veil over her face. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. As expected, Qiao Yulu came as well. Those words must have come from Qiao Yulu's bodyguard, right? The corners of her mouth lifted slightly. He was afraid that Qiao Yulu would be disappointed again. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change in the slightest when she was facing everyone's accusations. She leaned over and whispered in the woman's ear, "Is it too cold and itchy? You can't stand it anymore?" The woman's voice trembled as she said, If I hold on a little longer, will I be able to recover better?" Chapter 36-36. Yiqing Luo paused and continued, "Although the longer you use the beauty cream, the better it will be for your face. But if you force yourself to endure it, there will be some effects." The lady's hand clenched tightly. She had been restraining herself from scratching her face. She remained silent for a while. Probably because she heard Yiqing Luo's words. Or probably because she couldn't hold it in any longer. She said in a trembling voice, I can't take it anymore." Yiqing Luo held the lady's hand and looked sideways at Qiao Yinyan, please help me get a basin of water. In order to avoid getting into trouble, Yiqing Luo specially asked Pei Xing to bring a basin of water by the side. Qiao Yinyan took the basin and scooped a basin of water over. Yiqing Luo supported the lady and touched the basin. Now, wash your face with water. The lady obeyed and bent over to wash her face. While washing, the lady's body started to tremble even more. The crowd, who had stopped the clamoring and discussion because of the lady washing her face, started to clamor again, that the lady's life was in danger and so on. The lady washed her face and slowly raised her head from the basin. Her wet hair stuck to both her cheeks. The lady covered her face with both her hands, her fingers trembling slightly. Seeing the lady raise her head, those clamoring people quietened down and stared straight at the lady's face. Yiqing Luo's lips curled, her long and narrow eyes gave a faint arc. Take your hand down, let everyone see your face. The lady's trembling hands moved away from her face bit by bit. At that moment, the surrounding people burst into an uproar. Her face. Heavens! How is this possible? How did her face really recover? Is this really the same person as the ugly girl just now? I don't believe it. The citizens were astonished. One by one they widened their eyes, looking at the lady's face in disbelief. The lady stood in front of the table and chair. There was still water on her face, slowly sliding down. Her face, which was originally full of scars, was filled with scars. At this moment, she had completely recovered the face that a lady should have. Her facial features were regular, her skin fair and delicate. Although there were still some faint scars on her face. But those were not too obvious. In short, after the potholes of rotten flesh on his face were removed, he turned around. The woman became much more beautiful and charming. The citizens couldn't believe their eyes. Especially, they had witnessed with their own eyes, the woman with such a terrifying face had regained her smooth and tender skin. He had personally witnessed the process of an ugly girl becoming a beauty. Yiqing Luo placed the bronze mirror in the lady's hands as she smiled and looked towards the crowd. I know that you must have some suspicions in your hearts. How about this? I'll find 2 people as representatives to check if this young lady's face is real or fake. Everyone immediately expressed their desire to be a representative. They all wanted to see for themselves whether this magical cream was real or not. Yiqing Luo rubbed her chin and said, I can't just randomly find one, otherwise if you insist that you're the one who hired the treasure house, then it won't be clear. Her gaze swept across the crowd. Suddenly, her slender white hand pointed in a certain direction. Why don't I trouble the Empyrean fairy to help me examine it? The direction which Yiqing Luo was pointing at was exactly the direction where Qiao Yulu was standing. Everyone looked towards the direction that Yiqing Luo was pointing at. When he saw Qiao Yulu. Chapter 36-37. Qiao Yulu's eyes were gloomy like a sharp blade as she stared coldly at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo didn't seem to notice her steely expression as she smiled even more brilliantly. Mysterious maiden, what do you think? The hearts of the onlookers were thumping non-stop. They were very clear. The grudge between Bao and Princess Yulu. And they were very clear about the bet regarding the auction. Especially when the citizens were well aware of it. Yesterday's gossip was related to Princess Yulu. Now, Di Luo directly asked Princess Yulu to check on that lady's face, to see if it was real or fake, to check the authenticity of the beauty ointment. This meant that Di Luo had full confidence in the facial beauty ointment. As long as Princess Yulu confirmed that the lady's face had really recovered to normal skin, the efficacy of the beauty ointment was absolutely not fake. Under the hopeful gazes of the citizens, Qiao Yulu clenched her fists tightly as she walked out slowly under the escort of her guards. She raised her head slightly with an arrogant look as her voice was slightly cold. How do you want me to check? Yiqing Luo smiled as she shook her head. Mysterious maiden, don't be anxious, we still need to find another one. Her gaze took a look at the crowd. She walked directly towards the front of the crowd, towards a plain-looking man who was about 40 years old. Uncle Lu, can I trouble you to personally check on your daughter's face? The citizens recognized him. That plain-looking man was old Tofu Lu, who sold tofu on the neighboring street. Old Tofu Lu's eyes stared intently at his daughter's face as his eyes were filled with agitation. Under Yiqing Luo's support, he trembled as he walked to the front of the lady. Old Tofu Lu first touched the lady's face. His action was obviously very light and careful, as though he was testing. He was afraid that if he was not careful, he would ruin his daughter's face, which had finally recovered. Under Yiqing Luo's guidance, old Tofu Lu's strength increased slightly. In the end, he confirmed that his daughter's face had indeed recovered to normal. Even the ordinary pinching and rubbing had the feeling of normal skin. Old Tofu Lu was so agitated that tears fell down on the spot. Looking at the father and daughter pair crying together, everyone's hearts had more or less believed in the beauty ointment's efficacy. Yiqing Luo smiled as she looked at Xiao Yu Lu. Mysterious maiden can also touch Miss Lu's face personally. Xiao Yu Lu's face darkened. She was the one who had personally used the facial cream. The beauty cream could even restore her face, which had already been corroded. Not to mention an ordinary burn. Di Luo had purposely asked her to come out at this time to check if it was real. It was obvious that he was deliberately making things difficult for her. Xiao Yulu's eyes sunk coldly as she gritted her teeth and stared at Yiqing Luo. You clearly said yesterday that there's only 10 bottles of beauty cream left. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes as she gave an innocent smile. That's right, there were indeed only 10 bottles yesterday. But yesterday's rumors and slanders had a huge impact on our treasure gathering, so I can only try my best to refine another bottle of beauty ointment to clear up our treasure gathering's name. She paused for a moment, and her long and narrow eyes curved, revealing a hint of mischief. After all, this is the cream that even the Empyrean fairy wants. If I were to be influenced by the gossip, wouldn't that be mocking the taste of the Empyrean fairy? Are you fooling me? Xiao Yulu was so infuriated by Yiqing Luo's words that she almost threw up blood. Her entire body's muscles tightened into a ball as her gaze turned icy cold. Leave the rest of that bottle of beauty cream to me. I will testify on behalf of that ugly woman. Chapter 36-38. Xiao Yulu's eyes turned cold. Yiqing Luo continued to smile. The beauty cream's effect cannot be faked. If you really want to use your mysterious maiden's reputation and treasure-gathering bar, I have no objections. As she spoke, she put the beautifying cream away in front of Xiao Yulu's eager gaze. Of course, if the mystic fairy has made up her mind not to bid for the beautifying cream at the auction, I wouldn't mind the mystic fairy and the treasure-gathering alliance fighting. Yiqing Luo's words had completely blocked Xiao Yulu's way out. How could Xiao Yulu not want the beauty cream? Her face was totally different from old man Lu's tofu daughter's scalded wounds. Ordinary wounds could be recovered after using it once or twice. But her face had been corroded by the erased spirit's evil qi. If she wanted her face to recover completely, at least she had to use another bottle or two of beauty cream. Xiao Yulu was very clear about this. In front of Di Luo, she probably had no advantage at all. Di Luo dared to let the treasure-gathering bar test the beauty cream's effect in public. She must have done all the preparations. If she intentionally slandered her, the beauty cream was fake and that young lady's face was fake, Di Luo would definitely use other ways to prove it. As for her, mysterious maiden, she might even cause the citizens to lose confidence in her because of this. Most importantly, she was going to bid for the beauty cream in tomorrow's auction. Wouldn't that be slapping her own face? Various thoughts flashed past Xiao Yulu's mind. She couldn't help but clenched her fists. Slut. She was obviously determined to get the beauty cream no matter what. She intentionally schemed and forced her. However, for her own face. Xiao Yulu had no choice but to compromise. Ah. Suddenly, she heard a young lady pretending to be surprised. Xiao Yulu frowned as she stared at the young lady. But she saw the young lady's burning gaze staring at her face with one hand propping up her chin. Her long and narrow eyes were smiling in surprise. Even though the young lady was wearing a white veil. Xiao Yulu could see the young lady's pink lips under the veil, curling into a ridiculing smile. Xiao Yulu's heart trembled. The young lady's following words were definitely not something nice. Just as he was about to open his mouth and stop talking to Yiqing Luo. However, the young girl was the first to speak. That's strange. The beautifying cream I left for Mystic Fairy that day should be enough for you to use until the auction. Why did you come to the gathering of treasures yesterday and ask me for the beautifying cream? Yiqing Luo's voice wasn't loud. But it was not small either. At the very least, the people at the front could hear it clearly. Immediately, the hearts of the citizens began to become active. Most people had heard that Princess Yulu had personally gone to treasure gathering to ask for the beautifying cream. But later, there were rumors that Princess Yulu went to Treasure Gathering Hall because Treasure Gathering Hall wanted to deceive its customers again. She wanted to persuade Treasure Gathering Hall to hand over the beautifying ointment so as to avoid harming others and herself. However, from Di Luo's words, it seemed like the truth wasn't like this. Did Princess Yulu use beauty cream before? And he even asked Di Luo for some beauty cream. Listening to the discussions of the citizens, Yi Zichen's eyes lit up. Xiao Yulu's face under the veil was so dark that it was scary. Her venomous gaze stared coldly at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo remained unmoved as she blinked her eyes and looked at the maidservant Kai Dai who shrunk her head and legs as she stood beside Xiao Yulu. A sliver of understanding flashed past her eyes. She leaned forward slightly and got close to Xiao Yulu's ear as she laughed softly. Surely Mystic Fairy didn't intentionally destroy Kai Dai's face to test if the beautifying cream is effective, using her face to test the beautifying cream, right? As her words fell, Yi Zichen's expression changed. Chapter 36-39. Yiqing Luo's brows rose. Looked like she had guessed correctly. No wonder she felt something was amiss the minute she saw Kai Dai. Kai Dai's face had an obvious scar as she curled up beside Xiao Yulu, without the fox exploiting the tiger's might earlier. Xiao Yulu was indeed quite ruthless. Towards her personal maid who had taken care of her for so many years, she could be so ruthless. Yiqing Luo clicked her tongue as she gave a helpless sigh. A bottle of beauty ointment was originally meant for you alone. Sigh, what a pity. Hearing Yiqing Luo's ambiguous tone, Xiao Yulu's heart felt as though something was exploding in her chest. Her gaze turned increasingly vicious, like a sharp blade, as though she wanted to dismember Yiqing Luo into 1,000 pieces. However, Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change at all. Instead, she met her vengeful gaze. As though the angrier she got, the angrier she got. Yiqing Luo's smile became even more radiant and joyous. A face which is corroded by the demonic qi is not something that can be solved by a bottle of beauty ointment. It needs to be used continuously for at least 3 days and cannot be interrupted. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as she pretended to speak carelessly. Originally, that bottle of beauty ointment was enough for you to use for 3 days. Alas, you don't believe me. She shrugged her shoulders as she gave a helpless sigh. Not using it for 3 days and interrupting the beauty ointment midway, your face is even more troublesome. If I didn't guess wrongly. The skin on your face is starting to fester again, right? Xiao Yulu's pupils constricted. Yiqing Luo, who noticed the small details, her pink lips curled into a deep smile. Mysterious maiden, what should you do? Is your face more important or is it more important? This is really a difficult choice. Qiao Yulu was so infuriated that she wanted to vomit blood. How would she not understand the meaning behind Yi Qing Luo's words? Di Luo, don't be complacent too early. She gritted her teeth as she spat out these few words, flicked her sleeves and turned around to leave. The group of guards behind him immediately followed suit. Yi Qing Luo waved towards the direction where Qiao Yulu left. Mysterious maiden, remember to come to tomorrow's auction, I'll be waiting for your good news. Qiao Yulu almost staggered. When Qiao Yulu's figure completely disappeared on both sides of the street. Only then did the citizens dare to speak. Why did Princess Yulu leave without saying anything? Aren't you going to check the face of old Lu's Tofu's daughter? What does Princess Yulu mean by this? The conversation between Qiao Yulu and Yi Qing Luo. Other than those words which Yi Qing Luo intentionally let the surrounding citizens hear. As for the other words, Yi Qing Luo intentionally suppressed her voice. Qiao Yulu left angrily. Everyone was curious. What did Di Luo say to make Princess Yulu leave in anger? Yi Qing Luo shrugged her shoulders as she spread out her hands. I'm not sure about Mysterious Maiden's thoughts. Maybe it's because she wants to buy the beauty ointment at a high price, and besides the 10 bottles of beauty ointment that Treasure Gathering brought to the auction, there are no other beauty ointment, so Mystic Fairy is angry. Everyone looked at each other in dismay, as though they were contemplating whether Yi Qing Luo's words were true or false. However, what caught most people's attention was, there were only 10 bottles of beautifying cream left. 10 bottles. It was a cream that could turn an ugly woman into a beautiful woman. How could only 10 bottles be enough? Based on Princess Yulu's character, if the beauty ointment was fake, she would have exposed Treasure Gathering in public. How could she possibly leave without saying anything? The reason for that was because the Qiao family's master just so happened to see him vomiting blood. Therefore, family head Qiao was worried and depressed, and wanted to invite a doctor to take a look at Qiao Yulu. Qiao Yulu was impatient and wanted to go to the Zhongqing trading firm. How could Patriarch Qiao be at ease? This pull and pull. The black veil on Qiao Yulu's face was torn off. Under the veil, half of her festering face was a ghastly sight. This also shocked Qiao family head. Yi Qing Luo had heard these things from Qiao Yinyan's mouth. It was said that Qiao Yulu's disfigured smile had spread throughout the entire Qiao residence. Qiao Yulu was forced to stay in the room to rest. Many doctors surrounded Qiao Yulu's room and studied her face. Chapter 36-41. Qiao Yinyan nodded. Yi Qing Luo smiled lightly. Even if Master Qiao doesn't make a move, she will definitely bid for it. The reason for that was because no woman would be able to tolerate any problems with her face. Especially for a lady like Qiao Yulu who valued looks the most. Even if Qiao Yulu wasn't willing to lose the bet. She wasn't willing to let Yi Qing Luo be complacent. Qiao Yulu would definitely bid for the beautifying cream. But Yi Qing Luo's expression suddenly turned grave. She shouldn't compromise so easily. Even if she has no time to deal with the treasure gathering, she should put her thoughts on the Zhongqing exchange hall. She paused and suddenly raised her head. I suggest that you guard the door of her room tonight. Qiao Yinyan was stunned and immediately understood something as his expression congealed. What you mean is, there's a possibility that she will contact the group of people who set up the soul-devouring array. Those people's target might be me. If Mysterious Maiden wants to target me, those people will naturally make use of Mysterious Maiden to deal with me. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips. If those people help Mysterious Maiden, not to mention whether Mysterious Maiden can win the bet with me, the most important thing is, it will definitely affect the Qiao family. Yi Qing Luo didn't wish for the Qiao family to be implicated because of Qiao Yulu's mistake. Qiao Yinyan's expression turned grave. only dare to hide in the dark and use a borrowed knife to kill a rat, dare to make use of our Chow family. I will explain this matter to father and send more people to watch over Princess Yulu, to prevent Palace Mistress Yulu from contacting those people. Yi Qing Luo curled her lips at him. You don't have to be too nervous, perhaps I'm thinking too much. Just in case, we still need to pay attention. To be able to create a sinister array with a formation core spirit in the West Cliff Mountain, the other party's ability was definitely not weak. But why didn't they dare to show themselves? Instead they used this method to hide in the dark and pay attention to them. This made one have no choice but to guard against them. Xiao Yinyan stood up with a heavy expression as he prepared to leave the treasure-gathering exchange hole. Looking at Xiao Yinyan's back view, Yi Qing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as she suddenly said, Yinyan, it seems you've never asked why. Xiao Yinyan stopped in his tracks. After a moment of silence, he turned around. Yi Qing Luo met his gaze and spoke out softly, you should be able to guess that those people's identities and abilities aren't weak. Aren't you curious why they would target me when I'm just an ordinary person? It seemed like ever since she met Xiao Yinyan, no matter what happened to her, Xiao Yinyan was not curious even once. If it was her, she would definitely be suspicious. It was just like, after she saw that Pei Xing was not affected by the soul-devouring array, she had some speculations about Pei Xing. However, Xiao Yinyan had never been surprised by what had happened to her. A warm smile slowly appeared on Xiao Yinyan's handsome face. It made her elegant face look even more ethereal. His thin lips moved, and he said word by word with a smile, when you are willing to speak, I will listen. In short, I believe you. Yi Qing Luo was stunned. Xiao Yinyan had an inexplicable good impression of her. And a few times of unconditional help. She really couldn't understand Xiao Yinyan's feelings for her. If she said that Xiao Yinyan liked her. But to tell the truth, she really didn't feel that Xiao Yinyan liked her. If she said that he didn't. Chapter 36-42. Yi Qing Luo sighed. You can't guess a man's thoughts. No matter how you guessed, you wouldn't be able to guess. Then we'll talk about it when I feel like it. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand weakly at him, go keep an eye on your sister, I'll go take a look at Zixi situation. Forget it, it's better not to ask. If she continued asking, perhaps Xiao Yinyan would flirt with her again. She couldn't possibly ask directly, hey, do you like me? Don't like me, I have a fiancé. If she really said that, when they meet again, wouldn't it be awkward to death? Most importantly, she wasn't sure. Was Xiao Yinyan's feeling towards her the kind of love between a man and a woman? Xiao Yinyan returned to the Qiao residence and explained to Patriarch Qiao about the black-robed men. Patriarch Qiao was extremely shocked. But he believed that his son wouldn't lie. So he secretly sent the secret guards to guard Xiao Yulu's door tightly. Nothing happened that night. Only, the Qiao family didn't know. Xiao Yulu was in a flustered and exasperated state, using a pen to poke the paper which was filled with Di Luo's name, cursing Di Luo venomously. When a light breeze blew past, her eyes suddenly turned blurry and she laid sprawled on the table, unconscious. From the secret guard's point of view, Xiao Yulu seemed to be tired of cursing and laid on the table to rest. The current Xiao Yulu's consciousness had fallen into a temporary darkness. When it was bright again, that red-robed young lady with a white veil appeared in front of her, smiling sweetly as she looked at her with ridicule. That young lady was like a high and mighty queen, looking down on everything. His mouth continued to say humiliating words to her. Xiao Yulu stared at the young lady in front of her as her pupils contracted. Indescribable hatred and anger filled her chest. Finally, under the young lady's contemptuous smile, Xiao Yulu let out an angry howl. Her fists clenched tightly as she punched towards the young lady's face. Bam! The young lady was punched onto the ground. However, that radiant and enchanting face was still sneering at him. Xiao Yulu's eyes were bloodshot as she pounced forward, beating and tearing the young lady. Once and again. Again and again. It wasn't until the young girl's body was completely unrecognizable that she stopped, panting heavily. Did you vent your anger? Suddenly, an ethereal voice sounded in the surroundings. It was as if it was ringing in his ears. Xiao Yulu straightened her back in shock and quickly looked around. If you think that's the best way to vent your anger, I can help you make the real imperial fall look like this. That voice seemed to be filled with bewitchment. Who are you? Who is it? Xiao Yulu looked around cautiously. The Empyrean fairy is really forgetful. Didn't we just cooperate a few days ago? The voice laughed in a low voice. Xiao Yulu's eyes narrowed as rage filled her face. It's you guys. The ones who created the soul-devouring array. How dare you appear in front of this empress? She stood up angrily, her eyes burning with anger. Because of that so-called formation, her face had almost been swallowed by the formation, causing her to be disfigured. This group of people had deceived her. They said that she would help to lure Imperial Fall to West Cliff Mountain so that she would have the chance to kill Yi Qing Luo personally. She had not expected that she almost became the array's food. This group of people totally didn't want to help her sincerely. Chapter 36-43. In the face of Xiao Yulu's anger, the voice chuckled in a low voice. The laughter was sinister and cold. Xiao Yulu was so infuriated that her chest heaved up and down as her eyes turned red. What are you laughing at? Why must mysterious maiden be angry? Haven't we agreed right from the start that we are only making a deal? That voice said calmly, I'll help you lure that woman into the West Cliff Mountain. Whether you can kill her or not will depend on your own ability. That voice paused for a moment as its tone was filled with ridicule and ridicule. Your ability is not up to par, don't tell me you blame us. You! Xiao Yulu's face flushed red as she gritted her teeth and roared, you're obviously the one who lied to me. Didn't you tell me that that's the soul-devouring array? If it wasn't for the fact that I have the protective talisman which Ling Long Palace Lord had passed to me, I would have died in that array. Her face, which was as beautiful as a flower and as beautiful as a fairy, would not have turned into such a state. She wouldn't lower herself to get the beauty cream from Yi Qing Luo's hands. All of this was because of this group of people. They actually dared to appear. And even wanted to make use of her. That voice laughed sinisterly, oh. Really? Even if we tell you that's the soul-devouring array, will you really give up the only chance to kill that woman personally and not step into the soul-devouring array? Not waiting for Xiao Yulu to reply. That voice continued to laugh, no, you will. Xiao Yulu's mouth moved but ultimately she couldn't say any words of rebuttal. Yes, she would. Even if she knew it was the soul-devouring array, she would still enter the array. So what's the point of saying it or not? Anyway, it won't affect your decision, right? The voice chuckled again. Xiao Yulu's brows creased tightly as she felt that something was amiss. But she felt that what that voice said seemed to make sense. Not waiting for Xiao Yulu to think carefully, that voice rang again, I have a deal here, do you want to do it? Xiao Yulu pursed her lips as she hesitantly scanned the surroundings. It was a patch of gray and she couldn't sense any other signs of life. But that voice seemed as though it was right beside her ears. She pondered for a moment, as if she was thinking about the other party's purpose. The other party didn't rush him either. After a long silence, she slowly said, what deal? The voice laughed. I have an item here that will definitely fetch the highest price in the auction. It can help you suppress the treasures gathering exchange hall and win the bet with that woman. Xiao Yulu's eyes lit up. What is it? As long as you agree, that thing will appear in the auction in the name of Zhongqing Trading Firm tomorrow morning. The voice didn't intend to answer Qiao Yulu's question. Qiao Yulu furrowed her brows. How can I believe you? You can only choose to believe. The voice lowered its voice and revealed a trace of bewitching intent. Could it be that you don't want the treasure gathering to fail, and you don't want that woman to crawl beneath your feet? Just like that. A voice sounded in the direction of the voice. Qiao Yulu subconsciously looked in the direction of the young girl whom she had just beaten up. The girl in red fell to the ground, battered and battered. Qiao Yulu's eyes narrowed as a blazing flame spread in her eyes. Fine. I can believe you guys one more time. Then, what do you want me to do? Chapter 36-44. The next day. The auction. All the citizens of the main cities had rushed over to participate in the annual Without Embroiling Cities auction. The entire Without Embroiling City was bustling with activity. Especially the citizens of Without Embroiling City, they were in high spirits. There were even people who set up bets on who would win the bet, Princess Yulu or Miss Di Luo. Yiqing Luo and the rest handed over their invitation and entered the auction. That was even more shocking. The scene of the auction could no longer be described as explosive. The auction in the land domain was an extremely important event. It was an annual event. It was a gathering of all the auction houses in the entire Earth realm to participate in this event. The participating auction houses would be ranked according to the amount of crystal stones they bid on the spot. For 5 consecutive years, the auction house with the lowest number of bids would have its marketing rights revoked. This was the reason why the 3 main cities' mysterious fairies left the Linglong Hall and returned to the main cities. Most importantly, the annual auction was not exclusive to Without Embroiling City. It was for the 3 main cities to compete for the right to host the auction. This was similar to the Olympic Games. Which country would it be held in? It was extremely significant. This year, Without Embroiling City had won the right to host the auction. This made City Lord Lu extremely excited. The auction would be held in the main city of Without Embroiling City, at the venue. Without Embroiling City was the largest venue in Without Embroiling City. It was used to receive outsiders and VIPs from the upper realm. After Yiqing Luo walked into Without Embroiling City, she estimated that it could accommodate at least 30,000 people. This venue was divided into 2 floors. The first floor was the reception hall. There were many benches placed there, and all of them were already full. There were a lot of people standing in the surrounding aisles. It completely explained the true meaning of the sea of people. On the second floor, there were boxes one after another. After one round, there were at least 100 to 200 private rooms. These were used to receive VIPs and representatives of the top 50 auction houses. Since 5 years ago, after that incident at the Treasure Exchange, Pei Xing had never been to the second floor. But this time, perhaps it was because of Yiqing Luo and Qiao Yulu's bet. Or perhaps it was because Old Lai was by her side. City Lord Lu arranged a private room on the second floor for the Treasure Exchange. Moreover, the location was not bad. Yiqing Luo expressed that this was absolutely in order to please Old Lai, in order to have a relationship with the Hell Palace, so she specially arranged it. After entering the private room, Pei Xing was obviously somewhat restrained. His body was tense and his face was tense. Her eyes were slightly red. Yiqing Luo understood Pei Xing's feelings very well. For Pei Xing, the Treasures Exchange Hall was what kept him going. It had always been his dream. They stepped onto the second floor. This was equivalent to the acknowledgement of his treasure-gathering exchange hall. Moreover, today was the day that the future of the Treasures Exchange House would be decided. In his heart, he was both excited and nervous. They sat in the private room and looked at the sea of people on the first floor. Pei Xing was so nervous that his palms were sweating. "Ah Luo, how many people do you think are here for the beauty cream? Men pursue strength and strength, while women pursue beauty above strength. Don't underestimate a woman's obsession with beauty." Yiqing Luo smiled at him. "Relax, don't be too nervous." Pei Xing nodded vigorously, clenched his fists, and took a deep breath. He wanted to calm down. Chapter 36:45. The more he tried to calm down, the more anxious he felt. There was a trace of embarrassment on Pei Xing's handsome face. I'm going out for a walk. I'll be back soon." Looking at the embarrassed look in the man's eyes, Yiqing Luo knew that too. This kid was probably so nervous that he wanted to go to the toilet. However, the door of the private room was just closed. Yiqing Luo heard an extremely sharp and unkind voice coming from outside the door. "Yo, isn't this Boss Pei?" Then, a few mocking laughs rang out. Judging from the laughter, there were about 4 people. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. From his tone, it was obvious that he was here to cause trouble. She waved her sleeve. A surge of profound energy slightly opened and closed the door. Yiqing Luo saw Pei Xing standing at the entrance, and in front of him were 4 wealthy-looking young men dressed in brocade robes. Pei Xing didn't want to bother with him. He turned around and was about to return to the private room. However, one of them reached out and stopped Pei Xing. He smiled and said, "Boss Pei, don't be in such a hurry to leave. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Aren't you going to greet an old friend?" The other 3 immediately surrounded Pei Xing. Trapped in the middle, Pei Xing lowered his head and tensed up. "I have nothing to say to you." "Yo. Boss Pei, you sure talk big." The man clicked his tongue and laughed. "I heard that Treasure Gathering House has climbed up the ladder and is preparing to win the honor of the best auction house in this auction. Is that why you're so proud of yourself?" Even though the man was praising Pei Xing, however, it was obvious that they were mocking him. Pei Xing's eyes were filled with anger. He struggled to break free from the man's hand and glared at him. "What happens to the treasure gathering has nothing to do with you. How could it have nothing to do with me? After all, we used to be brothers." The man winked and smiled as he hooked his arm around Pei Xing's shoulder. Pei Xing was so angry that his eyes turned red. He grabbed the man's hand and shook it off. "Don't touch me. I don't know someone like you. Don't insult the word brother." The man who was flung away did not get angry. The other 3 men looked at each other and burst into laughter. Pei Xing's face was filled with anger. However, he also knew that the auction was just around the corner, and he couldn't allow anything to go wrong at this moment. He suppressed his anger and looked at the person in front of him. "Get out of the way." The man who was pushed away came forward with a cheeky smile. "TSK, after 5 years, Boss Pei can finally come to the second floor of the auction again. Is it because City Lord Lu feels that after today, the signboard of the Treasures Trading House will be taken down, and he feels pity for you, so he is giving you one last chance to sit in the box on the second floor?" Young Master Wang's words. That's true. How can a trashy auction house like Treasure Gathering be qualified to sit in our private room on the second floor? Isn't that lowering the status of our second floor? Right. We're all auction houses that are ranked in the top 50. The owner of a trashy auction house wants to sit with us. Is he looking down on us? Let's ask City Lord Lu what this means. When the men heard this, they cooperated and sang together. He even looked at Pei Xing with disdain. "What right does a person like you have to stand here? Do you still want to learn from your father's trick from 5 years ago? Fooling all the guests like fools? You don't want to learn anything, but you have to learn from your father, that liar." The three men kept humiliating him with words. Chapter 36-46. Young Master Wang, who had his arm around Pei Xing's shoulder, moved closer to Pei Xing with his slightly plump body. He leaned close to Pei Xing's ear and let out a low, evil laugh. Boss Pei, on account of our past relationship, I can help to persuade my brothers to let you stay on the second level of the trading house, which represents the honor of the trading house, on the last day that the trading house still exists. Young Master Wang's voice paused for a moment. There was an indescribable meaning in his laughter. Of course, you also know that I won't do a losing business. I'll help you this time. How are you going to repay me? Under the pincer attack of the four men, Pei Xing's slender body trembled slightly. He hung his head. His excessively long hair cast a shadow that covered half of his face, as well as his expression. Pei Xing remained unmoved. He didn't even struggle. Young Master Wang, who was close to Pei Xing, became even bolder. His hands went straight towards Pei Xing's body and started to touch her, in the private room. Qiao Yinyan and Lao Lai both saw the scene outside the door. Lao Lai couldn't stand it anymore. His face darkened. How dare you touch the person under my protection? Are you looking down on the underworld palace? He slammed the table and was about to rush out of the room. Qiao Yinyan frowned and looked at Yiqing Luo. Ah Luo, aren't you going to help? As he spoke, he stood up. As soon as Pei Xing was stopped by the four men, Qiao Yinyan and Old Lai had already made their moves. But seeing that Yiqing Luo had yet to make a move, only then did they endure it. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed as her slender brows creased slightly, as though she was pondering over something. She stared unblinkingly at Pei Xing outside the door. When she saw that the man's hand was already reaching for Pei Xing's butt, her frown deepened. A layer of red light appeared in his eyes. She stood up and was about to follow them out of the private room. Suddenly, her eyes flashed as if she had seen something. He reached out and grabbed Qiao Yinyan and Old Lai's arms. Wait! The two of them stopped and turned their heads towards Yiqing Luo in puzzlement. Was he not going to help Pei Xing? If he still didn't make a move, Pei Xing was about to be molested by a man. Yiqing Luo's gaze was fixed on the front as she said word by word, "Look." Just then, a bang sound of collision rang out. What followed was a blood-curdling scream. The two of them looked over at the same time. In the next instant, his pupils unconsciously dilated. His mouth also unconsciously opened wide. They saw. At the door, Pei Xing, who looked like a little lamb that had been bullied, reached out and grabbed the hand that was still moving down her waist. Ka-cha! The sound of bones breaking rang out. Pei Xing broke young Master Wang's hand without hesitation. Then, he raised his leg and kicked young Master Wang in the stomach. Young Master Wang let out a blood-curdling scream as he was sent flying and crashed heavily into the door of the private room. The other three men were startled. He didn't expect Pei Xing to make a move. Furthermore, it possessed such great power. He was still in a daze. Another man was punched directly in the face. The tip of his nose turned sour, and a stream of heat flowed down continuously. Following that, Pei Xing executed another set of beautiful and smooth fighting moves and pressed the other three men onto the ground. That battle power was really dumbfounding. Even Old Lai and Qiao Yinyan, who had been interacting with Pei Xing these few days, were shocked. Is this Brother Pei? Qiao Yinyan asked in shock. Chapter 36-47. What made the two of them dumbfounded was even more surprising. After Pei Xing knocked down the three men, he walked directly towards one of them. He pulled that man who was crying out in pain and punched that man's face. Left and right, punch after punch. as though he wanted to beat that man to death. That man was originally still able to cry out miserably as he struggled to break free from Pei Xing. But as Pei Xing's fists continued to fall, the man's voice became weaker and weaker. The three men beside him were so frightened that they didn't dare to help. This commotion attracted the VIPs in the surrounding cabins, or the exchange house representatives to crowd around. No way. The auction is about to start. If Brother Pei creates trouble at this time, he will be disqualified from participating in the auction. Qiao Yinyan looked at the surrounding people who were pointing at Pei Xing, talking about something, and his expression instantly turned grave. Yi Qing Luo frowned when she heard that. This was probably Xiao Yulu's design. She intentionally wanted to provoke Pei Xing, using the auction's rules to disqualify them from participating in the auction. Once Treasure's Exchange House couldn't participate in the auction, Treasure's Exchange House would not be able to obtain the honor of the best exchange house. The reason why she didn't make a move earlier was because she didn't understand this rule. Part of the reason was that he wanted to see what kind of power Pei Xing possessed. Because, just as they were about to walk out of the cabin to help Pei Xing, her profound jade heart suddenly surged with a scorching feeling. The profound jade heart's power extended to her eyes. She clearly saw Pei Xing's body, encircled by a layer of golden glow which she couldn't see through. That glow was very dazzling, and it was releasing a dense energy. It made her profound jade heart very restless. Yi Qing Luo also noticed it. Other than the golden glow on Pei Xing's body, the others, including Old Lai and Qiao Yinyan, didn't seem to notice Pei Xing's abnormality. So, she pulled the both of them back. But she had not expected. As the golden glow became more and more brilliant, Pei Xing was actually able to use his own power to directly take down four men whose abilities weren't weak. She pursed her lips, looking at Pei Xing, who had lost control. She said, "Pull him back first." Just as Qiao Yinyan was about to push open the door, his hand paused, and his expression changed slightly. "It's too late. City Lord Lu and the Executive Elder are here." Yi Qing Luo looked over. City Lord Lu, who was dressed in a dark robe, and two old men who looked like immortals walked over quickly. When the three of them arrived, the onlookers cheered as they watched the show. "City Lord Lu is here. The Executive Elder is here." The crowd dispersed, making way for City Lord Lu and the two Executive Elders. Amidst the hustle and bustle, Pei Xing seemed as if he didn't hear it, and he still fiercely and barbarically punched the man who was on the verge of death. That ruthless look. It was like a beast that had been trapped for a long time. His entire body exuded a horrifying evil aura. "Stop! Stop! What's going on?" When City Lord Lu walked over, he saw that Pei Xing was still acting tyrannically. His face darkened, and he walked over with a stern roar. However, before he could get close to Pei Xing suddenly raised his head, and a pair of bloodshot eyes, like a wild beast, stared fiercely at him. City Lord Lu was so shocked that his footsteps halted, as his expression changed. Chapter 36-48. Pei Xing's action was obviously challenging the authority of the Executive Elder and Governor Lu. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, their faces darkened. Pei Xing half knelt on the ground, one hand holding the man's collar, his fist full of blood. As he raised his head, his eyes were bloodshot as he glared at the person in front of him. It was as if he did not hear their words at all. The two Executive Elders looked at each other. Suddenly, he clenched his hands into fists and simultaneously moved towards Pei Xing's left and right. His fingers were like eagle claws as he grabbed Pei Xing's shoulders. A golden light flashed in Pei Xing's eyes. The vicious aura of a trapped beast became more and more intense. The crowd could not help but sigh. Obviously, he was going to fight with the executive elder. TSK, they did not know which trading house dared to ignore the executive elder of the auction and even fight with him. There was such a wonderful show in this year's auction. It was a worthwhile trip. Just as the two executive elders approached Pei Xing's aura surged. Suddenly, a hurricane came. Then, a white figure appeared in front of Pei Xing, blocking his way. One on the left and one on the right, it held the arms of the executive elder. At the same time, a sweet voice sounded, "Executive Elder and Governor Liu, please forgive me." Everyone looked in the direction of the voice. A figure that looked like a raging flame slowly approached Pei Xing. The girl's red clothes were burning like fire. She had an outstanding temperament, and her every move revealed an aura that made people feel pressured. When everyone wanted to see the girl's face, it was covered by a white veil. However, the white veil was half covered, which made the girl more beautiful and unparalleled. "Miss, be careful of that person. He's not normal." Someone reminded the girl who was approaching Pei Xing out of good intentions. However, in the next moment, his eyes widened in shock. The girl slowly walked to Pei Xing's side, bent down slightly, and covered Pei Xing's head with her slender white hand. The aura of the man who was like a trapped beast was calmed down bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, the ruthless man had already let go of his hand. He swayed his body and got up. When Pei Xing left the man who was violently beaten to death, a few men at the side immediately rushed forward and dragged him to the side. While dragging, he stared at Pei Xing cautiously. He made sure that Pei Xing didn't do anything. Only then did he feel relieved. Everyone's gaze fell on the young girl in unison. He seemed to be thinking about the girl's identity. Look at that man who was a head taller than the young girl. Just now, he was so fierce that even City Lord Liu didn't dare to approach him. At this moment, it was like an obedient pet, standing obediently behind the young girl. "Let go of me." Suddenly, an angry voice broke everyone's suspicions about the young girl. He shifted his gaze. Only then did he realize that just now, when the two executive elders wanted to hold Pei Xing down and stop him from hurting more people, Pei Xing's expression suddenly changed. It seemed like he had been intercepted. A single person intercepting two executive elders? How could they not pay attention to such a shocking thing? It seemed like, ever since the red-clothed girl appeared, all of their attention was involuntarily focused on the young girl. That red-clothed girl was simply poisonous. Everyone's gaze fell on the person who intercepted her. That person was wearing a gray robe that hung loosely on his body. His hair was neatly combed, but still a little messy. Chapter 36-49. But on that person's robe, there was a huge, prison word. Everyone's expression changed as their eyes were filled with shock. Even the executive elder who flew into a rage out of humiliation turned pale. So, he was from the Hell Palace. No wonder he could block the two executive elders with his own power. "Senior, Hell Palace." The executive elder spoke with an ugly expression. "I didn't know that Hell Palace Senior was coming, please forgive me for not going out to welcome you." After everyone heard the executive elder's words, they confirmed that this person in front of them was indeed from the Hell Palace. All of them were so shocked that they took several steps back. Their faces were filled with terror as they stared at Old Lai, as though they had seen some kind of dreadful beast. City Lord Liu saw Old Lai coming out and immediately went up to him with a smile. "Hell Palace Senior, please calm down, please calm down. It's just a small misunderstanding, please let go of the two executive elders first." In front of so many people, the executive elder of the auction was held in such a position by a person, unable to resist or move. It was really damaging to the auction's reputation. Especially, this was without embroiling City. if they infuriated the Hell Palace Senior. In this auction, they would create a huge ruckus. The one who would suffer in the end would be him. He absolutely must not mess up this auction. City Lord Lu smiled along. Old Lai shot a glance towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Seeing Yi Qing Luo nodding, he released his hands and clapped his palms. We are all civilized people, don't make a move so easily. Civilized people. People from the Hell Palace had the cheek to call themselves civilized people? He was cursing wildly in his heart. But he still hung a smile on his face as he nodded in agreement. What Hell Palace Senior said is right, we are all civilized people. Old Lai snorted and ignored City Lord Lu's fawning as he walked towards Pei Xing's back and directly stretched out his hand, pulling Pei Xing's ear. You brat, where did your brute force come from? I actually didn't realize that you have such an ability. Pei Xing's handsome face surfaced a layer of sullen anger. His eyes were red as he stared at the man who had fainted on the ground. I don't care how he humiliates me, but he shouldn't have said that about my father. Those three men instantly reacted. No wonder Pei Xing didn't hit anyone. Just focus on that kid and beat him up. Just because of that brat's words, Pei Xing wanted to learn from his father, that swindler. This caused Pei Xing to go crazy. Ahem. It's just a misunderstanding. It's fine, it's fine. City Lord Lu coughed lightly and tried to smooth things over. But, not waiting for him to finish. However, the girl's clear and sweet voice suddenly became a little cold. The girl tilted her head slightly and looked at Pei Xing with a cold expression. Chapter 3650. Pei Xing pursed his lips into a thin line. Yi Qing Luo crossed her arms over her chest as she gave him a glance with a smile which didn't look like a smile, her expression indifferent. The entire second floor fell into silence. No one spoke to break the stalemate. The atmosphere was getting heavier and heavier. It made everyone feel a little oppressed in their hearts. However, City Lord Lu did not say anything. The executive elder did not say anything. The senior from the underworld palace didn't say anything. The others didn't dare to make a sound. There was a moment of silence. Pei Xing couldn't take the pressure. He lowered his head and said in a low voice, I'm sorry. I was wrong. You're not wrong, how could you be wrong? Yi Qing Luo chuckled, her attitude was cold. Pei Xing's body trembled and he bent down. Luo, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I was really wrong. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes as she fixed her gaze on Pei Xing for some time before she opened her mouth faintly. Then tell me, where did you go wrong? Pei Xing's body stiffened again. He did not reply. Yi Qing Luo took a glance at old Lai. Lao Lai understood. He put his arm around Pei Xing's shoulder and helped him up. Pei Xing straightened his back. A pair of wandering eyes met with Yi Qing Luo's slightly indifferent eyes. There's no need for you to apologize to me. If you feel that you're not wrong, then you're not wrong. Yi Qing Luo looked at him as she replied indifferently. Pei Xing looked into her eyes. There seemed to be something surging in his heart. After a moment, he forcefully closed his eyes and said very slowly, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have been so impulsive. I shouldn't have used the future of treasure gathering just to vent my anger. The expression on Pei Xing's face was complicated. I know what you mean, Luo. You want me to face everything calmly and not be led by the nose by others. After he awoke from his rage, Pei Xing knew that he was too impulsive. However, he did not regret it. Because he would never allow anyone to insult his father. But, facing Yi Qing Luo's flat tone of questioning. However, he couldn't confidently say something like, I know I was wrong, but I don't regret it. He knew. What Yi Qing Luo said was because she was angry. She was angry that he had acted so rashly despite knowing the rules of the auction. With this, the treasures gathering exchange didn't have the qualifications to participate in the auction at all. His impulsiveness had not only harmed the treasure exchange, and also harmed Yiqing Luo. This realization made Pei Xing feel even more guilty. I should have remembered your words. I should have used my actions to prove treasure-gathering society's name instead of acting rashly, but it had already happened. The people he had beaten up were the young masters of 3 of the top 10 trading houses in the trading world. To be able to rank in the top 10 trading houses, the power behind them was not to be underestimated. Those families definitely wouldn't allow treasure gathering to continue participating in the auction. Looking at the guilt on Pei Xing's face, it was clear that he understood the mistake of his impulsiveness. The expression on Yiqing Luo's face eased up slightly. She leaned forward and gently patted Pei Xing's shoulder. He seemed to be comforting Pei Xing. As she approached Pei Xing, she lowered her voice and said to Pei Xing, "You should know that you are now representing the entire Treasure Assembly Exchange. Your every action will be closely watched by others. These 4 people, when the Treasure's trading house was in its prime, you should have been good brothers who talked about everything, right?" Chapter 36:51. Obviously, she had guessed correctly again. Yiqing Luo continued, "These 4 people should be intentionally invited by mysterious maiden to agitate you, to lure you into making a move. In this way, treasure gathering will be removed from the auction." Pei Xing's pupils suddenly shrank. Then what should we do?" Yiqing Luo raised her brows. "Now you know how to be nervous." I was wrong." Pei Xing lowered his head, his tone full of guilt. Yiqing Luo released his shoulder and took a deep look at him. Naturally, she couldn't just watch as treasure gathering was removed from the list. Old Lai was here. The auction would most likely give face to the underworld palace. However, Yiqing Luo felt that Qiao Yulu might not give up so easily. She glanced at Pei Xing again and sighed. Forget it. This time, he would treat it as a lesson for Pei Xing. Being able to change the fact that he would go berserk and ignore the consequences whenever he heard insulting words about his father was not a bad thing. However, before this, she still had one more thing to settle. All right. Don't blame Boss Pei, Miss D. I'm afraid this is just a misunderstanding. Don't let a misunderstanding affect everyone's relationship." Seeing that Yiqing Luo had stopped reprimanding Pearson, City Lord Lu immediately spoke up to smooth things over. Since Di Luo would reprimand Pei Xing, this meant that Di Luo was trying to resolve this issue. This was an inevitable choice. At this critical juncture, the Treasure's exchange house was in a critical state. If he could avoid causing trouble or standing out, he would try his best to keep a low profile. As long as Di Luo was willing to relent, this matter would definitely be resolved satisfactorily. City Lord Lu heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Then, he looked at the 4 representatives of the auction house with a dignified expression. "Since this matter is a misunderstanding, let's shake hands and make peace. Wait for the auction to begin and don't cause any more trouble." The 4 representatives of the trading house were supporting their young masters. When they heard City Lord Lu's words, their faces turned green. He had beaten their young master into a pig's head. How could he say it was a misunderstanding? This was especially true for the representative of the trading firm, who had been beaten to the brink of death and had almost lost half of his life. However, looking at the warning look in Lord Lu's eyes, behind City Lord Lu, there were 2 executive elders with ashen faces. In the end, he kept his mouth shut. They still wanted to participate in the auction. The threat in City Lord Lu's words just now was very obvious. They did not dare to resent City Lord Lu and the executive elder. So he placed all his anger onto the Treasure's exchange hall, especially on Yiqing Luo. Chapter 3652. What gathering a crowd to bully Bao Ju? It was obviously their young master, yet he was beaten up by Pei Xing, all right? They swallowed their anger and didn't haggle over it. This young lady actually dared to find trouble with them. One City Lord Lu's expression didn't look too good. Although Yi Qing Luo's words seemed to be speaking up for him, teaching those who doubted his authority. But this was obviously Yi Qing Luo intentionally dragged him into this. Yi Qing Luo had no intention to let these four representatives off. Yi Qing Luo's action, which made Pei Xing slightly astonished. He didn't quite understand. Luo clearly knew that he was in the wrong for beating them up. City Lord Lu and the executive elder didn't pursue the matter and let Bao Ju continue to stay in the auction. This was already the biggest preferential treatment, wasn't it? Pei Xing looked at Qiao Yinyan in puzzlement, hoping to get an answer. But he saw Qiao Yinyan's puzzled face. But, at the next moment, Qiao Yinyan seemed to have thought of something as a smile surfaced on his face. Pei Xing was puzzled. Qiao Yinyan walked to his side and lightly patted his shoulder as he spoke in a low voice. Earlier, Luo saw the scene of you being bullied by those four people outside the door. She is the most protective and can't tolerate anyone bullying her brother in front of her. She is helping you to vent your anger. Qiao Yinyan's words made Pei Xing stunned on the spot. His eyes widened, and there seemed to be something churning in his heart. Luo did it for him, so she did it in this way. Yi Qing Luo's overbearing manner and her righteous words made the other party unable to say a single word of rebuttal. City Lord Lu tried to interrupt Yi Qing Luo's words several times. But he was interrupted by Yi Qing Luo's extremely fast speed. In the end, City Lord Lu's face was steely green, and when Yi Qing Luo stopped, he asked with a black face, according to Miss D's meaning, "What does Miss D want?" Yi Qing Luo raised her brows as she slightly raised her chin and smiled. Towards this kind of trading house which doesn't know how to respect the auction's rules and also doubts City Lord Lu's decision. I feel that we should directly cancel their right to participate in the auction. The minute Yi Qing Luo's words were heard, the surrounding people started to draw in cold air. The faces of the four trading house representatives were livid, and they couldn't help but want to curse angrily. But Yi Qing Luo sighed again, but in this way. The punishment towards them is equivalent to cutting off the trading house's escape route. I'm such a kind-hearted person, so I definitely can't bear to do that. As she spoke, she blinked her charming eyes. With a "I'm pure, I'm kind" expression on her face, she looked at the four trading house representatives with a smile. How about this? Aside from apologizing to Treasure Gathering, I'll punish you by disqualifying you from staying in the private rooms on the second floor. All of you can go to the first floor and participate in the auction. The representatives of the four trading houses looked as if a dye vat had been opened. The faces of Governor Lu and the executive elder were extremely ugly. The two executive elders looked at each other and said solemnly, "This matter is of great importance. Give us some time to consider." Yi Qing Luo shrugged her shoulders. "Take your time to consider, after all I am so kind." The representatives of the four trading houses almost vomited blood as they cursed in their hearts, "Kind my ass." The executive elder pulled City Lord Lu and walked towards the direction where there were fewer people. Chapter 3653. City Lord Lu shook his head. "I haven't found out her identity yet." "What relationship does she have with Hell Palace?" Executive Elder's expression was grave. Details that no one else had noticed. Executive Elder sensed it. That Hell Palace Senior was very obedient to the young lady's words. No matter what he did, he seemed to notice the young lady's expression. As long as the young lady gave a signal, he would immediately take action. One must know. That bunch of lunatics from Hell Palace were known as the most feared lunatics in the Earth realm. That wasn't without reason. That bunch of lunatics had no rationality at all. They acted according to their own interests. Every powerhouse in the Earth realm wanted to climb up to Hell Palace. But at the same time, they were afraid of Hell Palace. There was no one who could make the Hell Palace's lunatics treat them with respect. That young lady was someone who could order people from Hell Palace around. Who on earth was she? Before they were clear about this matter, the two executive elders didn't dare to show any unhappiness towards Yi Qing Luo. City Lord Lu's expression turned ugly as he glanced at Yi Qing Luo, who was standing not too far away with an indifferent attitude as he clenched his fists. I heard from Hell Palace's senior that the young lady named Di Luo is their Hell Palace's distinguished guest. Hell Palace's distinguished guest. Executive Elder's brows creased tightly. What kind of distinguished guest could Hell Palace have? Who could make Hell Palace's people treat them as a distinguished guest? I'm not too sure about the exact situation. City Lord Lu had some suspicions towards Yi Qing Luo, but after this period of observation, Hell Palace's attitude towards Miss D is absolutely not fake. Executive Elder exchanged glances. If it really implicates Hell Palace and messes up the auction, this is not just our Executive Elder's responsibility. City Lord Lu nodded. On account of Hell Palace's face, we'd better try our best to satisfy Miss D's request. If they made Hell Palace's senior unhappy, Hell Palace came to create a scene. This year's auction would definitely turn into a joke. All those who were in charge of the auction had to bear this responsibility. They didn't want to be the scapegoat. It was better to turn a big problem into a small one and a small one into nothing. At most, after this matter had ended, they would personally talk to those powerhouses behind the exchange. They would personally talk to them. Those forces would more or less give them some face. Pay more attention to the treasures gathering exchange hall, so as to avoid any other strange occurrences during the auction. After the Executive Elder made his decision, he gave a few more instructions. City Lord Lu replied. The three of them returned together to Yi Qing Luo and the others. Yi Qing Luo looked at them smilingly. Between her long and narrow eyes, light flowed, like rippling streams of light, shining resplendently. It was a smile that could topple a city. However, when City Lord Lu and the two Executive Elders saw this, they felt their chests tighten. Ahem, after our discussion, we feel that Miss D's words make sense. City Lord Lu cleared his throat and announced the decision of the three of them. When the words left his mouth, the faces of the representatives of the four trading houses immediately darkened as they stared at City Lord Lu in disbelief. He was about to open his mouth to argue. Suddenly, a cold and dignified voice stopped City Lord Lu from continuing. Wait. Along with the sound, a hurricane swept through the corridor on the second floor. Following that, two figures appeared before the crowd with lightning speed. Two figures. One tall and one short. One slender like a Lolita. Chapter 36:54. The tall slender woman's cold and arrogant voice resounded. It's not easy to determine who is right and who is wrong in this matter. The air around the two of them dissipated. The figures of the two people were revealed. The two of them were dressed in lotus green robes, and their auras were very strong. Moreover, their expressions were extremely arrogant and unapproachable. City Lord Lu's expression changed slightly upon seeing the two. He secretly exchanged a glance with the Executive Elder. Then, he cupped his hands at the two of them without any change in his expression. Hall Master Ji, Hall Master Lu, why are you two here? If we don't come, are we going to allow the three of you to casually sentence the other trading houses? The lady sneered, as she shot a cold glance towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. City Lord Lu had an awkward look on his face. The Executive Elder also felt a bit awkward and didn't retort. The appearance of these two people immediately controlled the rhythm of the entire situation. This boldness made Yiqing Luo couldn't help but take a few more glances. These two are the hall masters of the Linglong Palace's branch, Xiao Yinyan explained. Generally speaking, the auction assembly is formed by the executive elder and the Linglong Palace's branch hall. Then there was the city lord of the main city where the auction was held. The CEO was in charge of all the rules and procedures of the annual auction. In other words, they were the representatives of the rules and laws. As for the Linglong Palace's branch hall, it is responsible for the safety and order of the auction. In other words, one was civil and the other was military. This was because the Linglong Palace was a place to nurture the Empyrean fairy. It was a mysterious existence. The people from the Linglong Palace's branch were in charge of the safety and order of the auction. Basically, no one dared to play tricks in the auction. In the past, there had been cases of people killing and robbing people before and after the auction. All of them were chased to the ends of the world by the Linglong Palace's branch hall, and in the end, they died without a complete corpse. After listening to Xiao Yinyan's explanation, Yiqing Luo's expression congealed. Linglong Palace, the palace of Linglong that nurtured Xiao Yulu. This meant that they had come with ill intentions. Moreover, it could be seen. Whether it was City Lord Lu or the executive elder. When facing the two hall masters of the two halls, Zhang Xian's expression changed. His arrogance was suppressed to a very low level. It was as if he was afraid of something. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as she directly asked the doubt in her heart. Xiao Yinyan glanced in the direction of the hall master and executive elder and said, "They're afraid of the Linglong Palace. A place that could cultivate the Empyrean fairy." Naturally, it was not an ordinary place. When the people of the Earth Domain faced the Linglong Palace, the Earth Domain's people had no choice. It was like facing the four great sects of the Nirvana realm. A kind of fear and respect had been born in his heart. Looks like my pretentious act is going to fail. Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows and said with a chuckle. Xiao Yinyan's expression was still very calm. You don't seem to be panicking. Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders. I'm in the right, naturally I won't panic. While the two were talking, those two hall masters had already sized Yiqing Luo up from head to toe. The eyes of the lowly hall master Lu were filled with disdain and mockery. She ridiculed as her red lips curled upwards, as her lively and adorable big eyes sparkled with a chilly luster. The treasure trading house had seriously injured the representatives of the other four trading houses, and even fell into a coma. Don't tell me that the person in charge of the treasure trading house doesn't intend to say anything. Pei Xing was locked onto by Hall Master Lu's gaze. His entire person froze on the spot. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.